Is it Saint Trayvon of Skittles, rather, actually?
Hey! We are live with me and Babylonian Hebrew, aka Babs, and
Hello.
Brundlefly. You're supposed to let me do my intro. Okay, now you can talk.
Hello, Brundlefly here.
Brundlefly here. I love it. All right. So let's start this conversation on the note of the recent discussion that you had, analytical check with Saint Trayvon of Skittles. It was a great chat. I thought it was really productive.
Yes, I realized the error of my ways. I am joining the communists now.
Well, I will say, aren't you, in listening to that, you're really much more of a libertarian than a conservative.
I never said I was like a huge conservative. I'm like a conservatarian, like a cross between a conservative and a libertarian. The only thing is
Conservatarian.
Yeah, libertarian.
So you're like only part autistic.
Libertarians like want drugs and I don't. So in that respect,
okay. Oh, so you think drugs are bad, but like abortion and gay marriage is less bad? That I don't know.
She's a feminist.
Let's get Rodney in here. Let's get Rodney in here.
She's a feminist.
Rodney in the chat.
Yeah, so Rodney can sit here, gung with the scotch.
Yeah. No, actually, I think you're more like
gung.
You're like a Hans Hermann Hoppe libertarian, where like you acknowledge you acknowledge the need for national borders and a coherent social identity, but you could give a shit about the details of how people live their lives.
Well, I believe that politics is downstream from culture, and
Breitbart posting.
Yeah, it's a Breitbart, I guess, meme, but it's absolutely true. And as long as we have the culture that we have, if people in this country who want gay marriage to be illegal, they're gonna have to push to change the culture. Because people say like, "Oh, I'm for this, I'm for it."
Didn't they do that though?
Didn't who? They do what?
I mean, there's definitely been a media campaign to normalize homosexuality since Ellen DeGeneres.
Right.
At least.
Exactly.
At least. An elite. Exactly. Yeah, but that's like an elite push. I mean, that's.
Oh, we lost Babs.
No, I was gonna say, like, that's not like the people. It's not the people like picking that. That's like elites using television to influence and manipulate public opinion.
Right, and somehow, if we want to change the public opinion back, somehow we're gonna have to do that. You're not gonna be able to get it changed to a law when like public doesn't support it. And this is one of the pitfalls of these, the right. The right. I recently like looked up like what makes someone conservative and stuff like that, just to see like how many people like still focus on. One thing is, I don't believe that people still focus on pro-life, pro-choice, and gay marriage. I believe that really only Christians are the ones still focusing on that, and the vast majority of people who consider themselves conservative, they focus on like small government, Second Amendment rights.
Yeah, because conservative means like this like dumb enlightenment bullshit because conserve, it just means conserve. Like when people say, "Oh, I'm a conservative," all they mean is like, "Oh, like I like the Constitution, like my enlightenment values, free speech, small government." I mean, I'm not saying those things are always bad. I'm just saying it's not like in reality. The first two arguments are closer to a true reactionary or traditionalist right thing, I guess, quote, classical right, or not even right, that's a bad term, but it's more like reactionary versus technically like enlightenment, which when you look at them, you're comparing like, I guess the enlightenment thing is the more kind of like libertine, freedom, progressive type ideology in a way.
Well, I feel like conservatism in the American context, all it really means is status quo, promoting this status quo, like, any kind of reactionary element, like any idea of going backwards. Like, we're not the conservatives don't even want to go back to 1776. That's almost like that's really the extreme. That's the extreme wing of the Republican Party. Like a guy like Ted Cruz, any kind of like strict constructionist of reading the Constitution is considered an extremist. He wants to go backwards. But conservative just wants to stand still and sort of, they kind of, their job is to validate like whatever the Democrats have managed to turn into the status quo when they were under power.
Oh, is this the Judas guy?
Hi.
Hi, it's the Judas guy.
Oh, shit.
We're already on the air.
Hey, Judas.
Hi, Brundle. I have something to say to Babylonian Hebrew.
Yeah, he's here. You can talk to him.
So, what up?
Just know that we're on the air.
Babs, I really like you. I think you're a really nice guy. You've been really nice to me. But the thing is, you are involved with the elites, and we know about like the Satanists and like, you know what I'm saying?
I'm not personally involved. I can't help who my family is.
I know, but like that's something that has to be taken seriously. Listen, I like you a lot. It's just I'm putting the facts on the table because that is not. Listen, my vision is. Let me tell you my vision. I think people like that in that category should be put in gas chambers and filmed live streamed in Times Square. That's what
in self-defense. In self-defense.
Wow.
I think that
if we find that that's my vision, it's going to take millions of years to get to that, but if we really committed, we can do it.
Oh, listen, stop.
No, can we get him on Luke's show?
Yes, we can get him on Luke's show. Listen, this is a battle between Mizrahi Jews. Okay, let this take place. Listen, my friend, my brother, Habibi. You think that like I can help the circumstances that I was dragged into just because I come from New York City? And here's the problem. I was raised in the context that I was raised in. What exactly am I supposed? What am I exactly?
I know you're going through a terrible thing. I don't want to talk about it. It's just interesting. It's just an idea.
No.
I'm just being real.
I see where you're coming from. But I'm curious. Okay, when you say, I'm curious to hear. I'd like you to elaborate a bit more on what you describe as a satanic elite. I'm intrigued by that. My interest has been piqued because, in terms of, I guess, satanic motifs, if you're actually familiar with a lot of people who describe themselves as quote Satanists, their ideology is effectively it's libertinism in a lot of ways, and sort of like it involves the ego and the self in a lot of ways, and I find that interesting. But I also think that separately from that, there are sort of like, I guess what you could describe as certain dark motifs amongst certain factions of societal elites that manifest themselves, and while there's an entire industry of people who deliberately exist to sort of make these connections where they not necessarily are. For instance, if you look at like Alex Jones seeing Moloch at Bohemian Grove, but at the same time, I do think that there is something interesting about what you're getting at here. So I would like you to elaborate. No. I know.
I'm LARPing. I'm LARPing.
I know. But here's the thing. All right. What do you think about, let's say, the Rothschild family? Like, I'm legitimately curious, like, because people say like the Rothschilds are evil and stuff like that.
I have a book, a Chafetz Chaim biography from Art School Judaica, which is the Word of God, and excuse me, that's what I'm told. I'm just following orders, like the Nazis who didn't want to follow orders, and they just killed Jews anyway. That's what I learned, and
what does Rabbi Scroll say?
What was it? Oh, it said that the Rothschild, Olav Shalom, he helped the Chafetz Chaim publish the Mishnah Berurah. I can actually read it to you right now if you're interested.
So the Rothschilds are not evil. There you go.
Rothschild. It also said that his wife and his sons weren't dedicated to, spreading Torah. like their like Umshul was. That
yeah, I mean, they wouldn't have married into my family if they were interested in spreading Torah. My family is as secular as they come.
By the way, Babs, I have something to ask you.
Yes, go for it.
I have a serious question for you.
Yeah.
Did your mom get to see the new Stephen King's It movie, or is that not intellectual enough for secular Jewish demigods?
It's not intellectual enough. She doesn't really like to go to the cinema unless she's like necessarily seeing an art movie. For instance, she recently went to the Guillermo del Toro film about The Shape of Water, which is sort of about trans-species relationships, and she really enjoyed that. I went there with her, but she doesn't really like to see movies that she doesn't think are quite aesthetically or otherwise sophisticated.
That's spicy.
Man, you're giving some serious answers to some very unserious questions.
Well, that's what I'm here for. That's really my role. Oh, dude, I like this panel. This is good. I like what we've got.
I'm done.
I will say that Judas. So, how serious are you about really not liking elites? I mean, are you generally opposed? Like,
I'm just
someone
LARPing.
like Donald?
I'm LARPing as Alex Jones.
Oh, okay.
He loves the elites in real life.
Well, because the only thing I would say,
jealous.
if that was serious, the thing I would say is that
I think he's
actually
jealous.
think someone like Donald Trump, as sort of a class traitor, deserves more recognition for doing that. I mean, it's a lot harder to like, or it's like it's easy to be like outside the country club throwing rocks through the windows than it is to be smashing the furniture inside.
True. Well put. Country club. Interesting. Has anyone here been to a country club? I'm curious.
I have.
No.
What are your thoughts on the country club?
Or Babs?
What are your thoughts on the country club life? What was the vibe? Talk about it. Because I have some experiences as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've done the country club, the yacht club. I mean, I have.
Oh, yacht club! You're such a goy. Oh my god.
A yacht club? Yeah. Well.
Dude, there's like a joke. There's like a joke in the ZBT frat, which is like a Jewish frat. There's like a running joke, which is ZBT yacht club, because it's like that's a goy like a white goy pastime, like a yacht, like yacht maintenance and ownership. It's like so Anglo-waspy,
No, it is right, because there's no, it's not a great investment. It's not exactly, as they say, a boat is a hole in the water you throw money into. But I mean, I have no problem with I'm all about freedom of association. I think like it's a little, the thing is my intelligence, I was sort of raised I don't know if it's up sort of the edge of the upper middle class. My parents.
On that, you mean the edge between lower upper class and upper middle class, or the edge between middle?
No.
Oh, I see.
Well, the edge between middle class and upper middle class, right?
Interesting. All right.
Like the lower end of the upper middle class, but
I see.
My mother wasn't educated. She, through sheer hard work, made it all the way to the C-suite. Attended a year of college. My dad is a CPA, so we were okay. But where they came from was lower middle class, borderline working class. And so culturally, I've always felt a lot more at home with middle class and lower middle class types.
Yeah, I grew up working class.
And I find I tend to find upper people who've been in the upper middle class and above over a couple generations to be effete, and just I just kind of there's kind of this visceral dislike.
I've been on the wrong end of that. And for that reason, I have a really hard time often leaving the social circles that you just described, because I get not bullied, as it were, but I'm always I don't fit in well in the context of sort of men of that background that you find more comfortable.
Right. No. Right. And it's kind of interesting because like sort of my I have like I've actually thought about this in the last year where I sort of have this like culture and intelligence gap where like I like to associate with people who don't stimulate me intellectually, but so like I'm sort of left. Like I don't know. Like I can't. I find it hard to.
Yeah, there aren't that many Jim Goats out there.
Well, Jim Goat is such. Oh my, Jim Goat.
Well, I mean, Jim Goat's Jim Goat. But I mean, I'm just talking about sort of the archetype of someone coming from sort of like I guess
like
a more humble.
Like a dentist. Like honestly, like a dentist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right, like someone who works with his hands, or but is well read. You know what I mean, and a thinker. And so, like. It's interesting because like through kind of this experience, like being on Luke's show, I've gotten back into a circle of people whose intelligence like matches my own or even exceeds it. Like I did.
Like it's over 9,000.
Right. And where I haven't had that outlet for years, like since I was in magnet schools. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. That's the same reason I love this context too. And I mean, I go to university, which is supposedly.
In Judaism, we're never supposed to make oaths. We're never supposed to make oaths, and it's a trap of arrogance. It doesn't say the same word, but it's actually to test people if they're arrogant, because only arrogant people make like vows. But I am prepared to make a halakhically approved oath that I will never kill myself.
Alrighty then.
Holy shit! Wow, have you seen this comment in the chat, AC? This guy.
No, I don't have the chat open.
Oh, well, I wouldn't open it. I would not open that shit. Unless you want to ban this guy.
I didn't mean to.
Remember, I'm a communist.
You're right here first, folks.
Hey, behind the partition, never open Pandora's box.
Yo, Patrick. Yo, what's his face? Patrick is in the chat.
You want to invite him in?
Yes, bring Travis. I love his singing.
How do we reach him?
Patrick would really speed up the pace of the conversation.
I blocked Patrick on
Yo,
Twitter.
Brundle, I think that Patrick would really speed up the pace of the conversation. Let's bring him in. Listen, I think that bring Patrick in. I am Patrick's advocate, okay? Just like I'm Travis's advocate. I'm trying to get Travis on a Norvin about paganism.
Just
We're like talk about white Western pagans.
No, you just love humiliating goys. I've realized that.
Oh, you fucking called me out on my true agenda. No, I love pagans, okay? I like to hear Travis sing. No, yo, people don't know. Travis has awesome videos on his channel. Like he has these really cool like homemade video montages what's it called? Yeah, someone shoot can shoot Patrick a link if you want. But like yeah, he has really what's it called? He has like really cool. Travis has cool video montages on his channel. I recommend you go check them out. But yeah, I totally agree with what you were saying earlier, Brundle, about associating in these circles. Like I go to university, and supposedly smart people go to university, but it's like even if the people are smart, as in they have a lot of intellectual horsepower or like brain mental horsepower, it's like okay, cool. Like your interests are boring. You're a bland person, or your interests are actively offensive to me. So it's like yeah, it's like well, all the sort of humanities, artsy, history, anthropology type people really sort of tend to skew in one direction, especially at universities in like New York or certain types of universities. So it's like being in contexts like this. I also get access to on that. I find more intelligent people here more frequently than I've seen at some of the allegedly best universities in New York or in America, in fact, which are very, very, very underwhelming.
Yeah, I find it like it's like that conversation. What's that guy named Cater, whatever, that was on Luke's show last night?
Cater Endless, Kiter Endless. Yeah.
Like he's so intelligent and like so articulate, and yet I feel like sometimes like hyper intellectualism. I mean, this is why I was hoping Halsey would give me a different answer, because he strikes me as the type of guy who both like is intelligent, well read, but like also lives in the physical world to a certain degree. And like I asked, like, can one read too many books? Like, can you, like, there's no sort of, I mean, I want to say like real world context to his like his perspective. It's like I don't know. It's like the ivory tower is just very off putting.
Like the Holocaust.
Like I mean, the ivory tower is off. The ivory tower is off-putting. Yes, I agree, but I think that I mean, I guess I just look at the past, the recent past, like in sometime interim period between the church turning from like the cathedral school into a university gradually. Between then and now, there was a point at which the university and academia, if with, let's look at an area like physical anthropology, if with the knowledge and technology we have now vis-a-vis genetics and other anthropological aspects of humans, if we had that access to that information and technology now, but we had the mentality where we were sort of unafraid to see basically the facts for what they were and come to their logical conclusions, things would be really different. Imagine if, like, let's say Boaz hadn't started that whole like strain of thought which he very much like played into. Imagine if that whole school of thinking didn't really come into play. I just think it would be very interesting, and that's just one example. I think that the ivory tower, as it were, is bad, and it's bad because also people, the way in which people, the relationship people have with it as this sort of a powerful authority thing. But at the same time, I also think it has potential to be used as a force for good. It's the same thing like with authoritarian leadership. It simply depends on who holds it, I suppose.
By the way, you guys know that Cater's in the chat.
Yeah, no, I see that. No, my, of course, this is how these things seem to go. But no, I just feel like it's kind of like when you have an intellectual, when you're talking about ideas and you're sort of when you're evaluating like someone's credibility on a subject and like whether you should care, because like I know it's a fallacy to like associate idea or an argument with the speaker, but it's like sort of an autistic way of looking at like how to evaluate whether to be influenced by someone. And I just feel like if you've never betted a woman or can't bet a woman, or even like when we talk about a lot of things, like I take people who don't have children, no offense guys, like sort of with a bit of a, like there's a bit of a loss there, because like you're sort of like missing some element of like the total human experience.
Yeah, tell that to the men who don't want to settle down and have kids.
Like being TFL.
TFL.
I think that.
Incel.
I think that. Are you an incel?
Oh shit!
Are you?
Judas,
Are you an incel?
What did you use your 30 pieces of silver on?
Oosh. Stonewalled. Anyway.
Yeah, so to...
What was I saying? Something about, settling down, marriage, kids. Yeah, no, I want to have kids. I want to have kids, a large family. I just first want to sort of get my life into a place where I feel comfortable doing that. I want to physically move first out of New York City,
you're young.
because I don't think it's a healthy place. Yeah, I'm like young.
Yeah,
I still have some time to do some stuff.
And I totally agree. And I think I guess it's a matter of degrees. Like I really can't take anyone seriously that like questions whether like having kids is a legitimate goal and stuff like that. To me, like I think it was Spangler who said that like the mark of the when a civilization's people like start even questioning the idea of having children, like it's over. It's kind of where we're at.
Yeah. Wow. That is such an apt quote.
It's a paraphrase, but yes. And, you know, but I just feel like, if, at least like through my own lived experience, like sort of how my perspective changed and how I, not to like diminish, not to diminish like the perspective of the younger Brundlefly when he didn't have kids, but the world requires people to like have children, and so like being part of that cycle gives you, I think, like a fuller perspective. I think one day when you have kids, you'll be like, things will change in some of your views, and I think even analytical chick, like your libertarianism, I think like once you realize like you're gonna have to send your kid to a school where they are being read books about little Johnny having two dads by some transsexual, you'll go, you know what? Actually, I do care about gay marriage.
Well, I wouldn't want my kids being read a book like that. I mean, I know y'all think that's why I said, like, I'm kind of in the middle, but at the same time, well, that also plays into libertarianism, because I don't believe that it should be the school's role to teach children values. It should be up to the parents. So, yeah, I would not want my kids being taught that.
Yeah, but it's also
people are saying this like I'm pro gay marriage, and I'm really like,
no, you're just legally, I get it, like you just don't want to do anything about it, like with the state. You don't think the state should do anything about it, etc.
But that's but compared to the zeitgeist,
I guess I'm slightly against it, because I sort of say like, why can't they just shack up? But I mean, marriage is watered down now anyway, so why should anybody be able to still get married? I mean, you could get into a whole bunch of philosophical. That's this bullshit with like the gotcha questions. I mean, like, it's not like I'm not going out there like advocating for like late term abortions or anything. I'm against late term abortions. If I had my druthers, I would allow up to like 8 weeks. And that's it.
I'm just saying that, like, to be ambivalent in the face of a cultural zeitgeist of like homosexuals and transsexuals and the tearing down of the gender boundary and killing children is
much more. I have
somewhat complicit
when it comes to trans, because I guess my main issue is, like, on the one hand, I don't feel like the state can tell people, like, like if Blair White wants to go and pay a doctor to have, his dick cut off and live as a female, like, that's none of my business. But at the same time, like, yeah, I kind of don't want it to be like this part of society that we're all supposed to just think it's great.
Yeah, and also Patrick mentioned if conservatives don't want gay marriage, maybe they should stop going to watch sports and actually get involved. The fact is that the majority of states, like either through the legislature or through changes in their state constitutions, like define marriages between a man and a woman. And then the Supreme Court went against the will of the people in, like even along the way, like the appellate courts like overthrew these like democratic decisions. I mean, this is what the people wanted. They shoved it down our throats. I mean, even at the time of Roe v. Wade, the country was split. The country's still split. It did nothing to like solve the issue or decide the issue. And I think you underestimate. I mean, I like that Sir Trayvon guy said he would never vote for somebody who's pro-choice. Like, neither would I. I mean, I've said that. I mean, during the election, Carly Fiorina made reference to this video
during
one of the speeches.
I'm aware of that.
And I went and watched that video, and like it, you know what? I don't advocate violence, but if I was on a jury with an abortion clinic bomber, I would it would be a hung jury because there would be no conviction coming out of my ass. Zero. No chance.
Honestly, I think that you can't, for me, it's just sort of, I don't know how to put it. There's no way that, there's no way that I could really sort of logically bring myself to support abortion or gay marriage in any situation because it's just gay marriage. I mean, even like, why does it have to be marriage? Like, what about a partnership? Like a civil, right. Like, what about a civil partnership? Even is like if we have to have some sort of union.
Shack up. I mean,
even, but like don't disgrace the pre-existing institution of marriage and the family. Don't disgrace like marriage and the family. You know, as a you know what I mean.
Yeah, especially because it, the purpose of marriage is about providing a stable framework for the raising of children. Like, why else would we bind two adults together like this? It's for the kids, and frankly, homosexuals, there are no kids. They're just
they can adopt.
Okay. No, they shouldn't. Right.
I'm totally against that.
I'm 110% against that. And so, but what about the kid? What about the kid that can't
foster care that are getting?
Oh, it's gonna warp them, dude.
That is to me, that's like the
That's
same
the clown from it.
That is like that's like the exception that proves the rule. Kind of like your extreme scenarios that you were giving Sir Trayvon about, these cases where like you have to paint such an extreme picture that applies to maybe two people ever to like justify abortion. like because this one person will sort of like suffer an injustice, we have to allow it for everyone else. And it's just, nothing is perfect. There's, I guess, injustice from any policy. I just view it as like the least amount. Let's pursue the least amount of injustice. How about that? And so, like, if one foster kid doesn't get to go with like two gay dads, so that 99 others aren't like subjected to homosexual conditioning, fine.
Yo, but like also on principle, children should be kept away from homosexuals.
Right, exactly. Under all circumstances.
Like I hate to say it. And listen, I'm not going to say anything more on this topic because I don't want to get your channel shut down.
Homosexuals should be treated compassionately, and we should understand their very serious situation. But and we should try to like help them like not reveal it, and it's just
not reveal it.
Exposing it.
What do you mean not reveal it?
Get back in the closet.
How gay are you?
Help them not reveal it.
On a 1 to 10.
Interesting. That's a very interesting way of phrasing it. Help them not reveal it. Sorry, go ahead.
Encourage them to get back in the closet.
No, absolutely.
Get back.
I think when I was a baby, the Illuminati Satanist doctors injected me with like female hormones. Because my dad's manly, but I'm not. My sisters are manly. But they're not. They're good-looking women, but they're like also masculine.
Maybe you just
my sister. I can't say that.
Judas, who did most of the parenting at your house?
My mother. My father was very emotionally distant. He's a good man though, but he's kind of like Asperg. He's very talented and brilliant.
Are you an incel?
Yes, but it's because of Judaism and Jewish ultra-Orthodox guilt.
And this is what I want to get to. This is interesting.
I could totally get like an older woman if I wasn't religious. Like I'm very, very confident you should.
Judas, analytical chick qualifies.
Oh no! Here we go again.
I only want to go with a woman who can bear at least one child for me. Because I
bear at least one child for me.
The Talmud says that. The Talmud says that when you give a child a name, it's like when you give someone a name, it's like a form of like divine inspiration. It's like a omen.
Yeah.
We have to the rabbis to approve the names because, yeah, I have like satanic letter Goyish name.
Interesting. Sorry, what is that? What? Could you repeat that?
How much anime do you watch?
If you mean like Jewish books, that's proxy language. You can't fool me, Brundle. I have like this book called "The Wisdom in the Hebrew Alphabet" and Jewish wisdom in the numbers, and there's some astrology books, Torah rabbinically approved astrology books, and like it talks about how like the letters are pictograms, and like they have like meanings, and like it's really deep and it's really interesting.
Sounds interesting.
What anime are you watching right now? What's hot? Are you Dragon Ball Super?
Oh, dude, Dragon Ball Super is good. Like the fight with Jiren is so good.
Goodbye, Universe 10. I've got some friends. I don't actually watch anime, but I have some friends that do, and I'm picking up on the memes.
Oh, yeah, good shit.
Maybe Judas, since you know Luke in real life, you should have him teach you how to not be an incel. He'll like take you to like pick up some.
No, you'll go too far in the opposite direction. Listen, I did that and I regret it. I have a question though. Does Orthodox Judaism make you an incel? This is the question. If so, why? I'm curious to hear why this is. What's your take on it? Because I was talking to AC about it, but I want to hear your take.
I gotta go prep for Luke's show, guys.
All right.
Have fun with Judas. Maybe you can.
Awesome.
Maybe he can respond when he's asked questions.
Yeah. Yo.
You know who Grunny is?
Sorry, I lost
it's him.
What was your question, Babs?
Why does Orthodox Judaism make you an incel? Listen, Brundle. I have some plans for Luke's stream. I'm gonna come on. I'm gonna come on and there are 4 different topics that I'm interested in potentially exploring, and we can choose like 1 or 2 of them to get into. Also, if we're doing a paganism chat, I'd like to bring in some pagans if possible. I want to get in some pagans to show their intelligence and show how like good pagans are and how cool they are and smart they are.
Oh yeah, right. No, I know you're
dude. See, you think like I'm trying to humiliate the goyim. Like that's your thing. I'm not. I literally actually support. I actually support people who are like indigenous traditions.
Babs, you're
let my people go.
Babs, I know you're a fellow traveler. I'm with you. I just know that you also enjoy a good laugh from time to time.
Yeah, let's just say that. All right.
Message me on that. Let me know your show ideas so I can be prepped, if you don't mind.
All right, I'll message them to you. I'll see you on the Ford screen. Very well.
Right. Yeah, bye.
All right, Judas, talk about why Orthodoxy makes you an incel.
Torah forbids Jewish people from having premarital sex. It's a goy has to go to a rabbi and ask them if it's permitted for him to use condoms and to masturbate, because that's a huge issue. Is current to the mystical tradition, the spilling of seed is one of the most destructive in the Torah, and there's a whole meaning of what is sin, and that's the whole thing, because it's Hebrew, so.
But there's an obvious logical solution, which is just get married early and have constant sex all the time. The only problem is that I bet like Jewish women are like, oh, I only want to get with like a dude who's stable and shit. I don't want to get with like some.
I'm a very religious Jewish girl, but she functioning Asperger's case. She was like very childish.
I see.
In Yiddish, you see kinderish. She was very kinderish, and
kinderish autista.
And she was 350 pounds. It's really embarrassing, but I helped her. I helped her lose 50 pounds in 6 months. But then over Pesach, she gained it back.
Wow.
Fascinating. Enthralling, if I do say so myself. Hello, Keith.
Who's Keith? I sent it to Patrick. Somebody gave out the chat link.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
were you the one?
No, although that would be pretty funny.
Maybe it was Brun. Maybe Brun gave out the.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. I think it. Anyway, Patrick should be joining soon. Yeah, send it to Patrick and send it to the other guy. What's his name? Who was trying to get in?
Cater?
There was, yeah, Cater and Patrick.
I think I don't want to send it to too many people.
I like it when it gets all shit showy. All right, then just send it to whoever you will. Luke is about to go live soon. And
by the way,
why don't we shut this
friends
down?
at the NSA, they have some really interesting content for you.
There's another channel that I was gonna hop on probably because they had like a call show and it was probably gonna be going.
Oh, okay.
They usually have openings.
Where is that?
I don't want to say.
All right, fair enough. All right. Let's go off air then. Thank you very much for joining us. That was a pleasurable chat and enjoyable shit show. I thought that this was an 11 out of 10 conversation. Good bants were had, and I'm looking forward to the Luke Ford show stream tonight. Don't forget to tune in at probably around 10 p.m. Eastern time.
And subscribe to Babylonian
and subscribe to Babylonian Hebrew, Analytical Chick, and Judas Star High 250.